I wanted to jump on this call, mate, to discuss something that's been on my mind for a while. So we're both photographers.
Hmm.
We both shoot headshots. You're an excellent headshot, and it's probably one of the things you're probably, I guess, best known for. I don't know whether that's right or not. I'm very conflicted in whether I think headshots are worth doing. And I kind of wanted to bring you on to persuade me otherwise. So
Okay.
I think I'm naturally being devil's advocate against something that I actually get quite a lot of revenue out of. um, so this is where I'm at, and this is my thoughts behind headshots. So there's several different uses for headshots. You've got the Meet the Team page, the About Us section, whatever you want to call it on a website. You've got your social media profile headshots. What I find a lot of the time is when you're working with like SMEs who have got some sort of team, one of the intros to us as an agency or us as a business is headshots. They want to get some cool headshots. They want to have a bit of personality behind the brand and stuff like that. That's good. Like we can definitely do that, but you've got no other marketing media. Like your headshot doesn't necessarily explain what you do as a business. But then I sort of go, well, have you thought about like actually getting some like media, content, photography, videography of what you actually do, so that you can market that, not just who works at your business. And a lot of the time it's like, well, I send them a quote for that, and they're like, oh, it's a bit out of our budget, or whatever. They're not interested for whatever reason. But then they'll drop, close to $1,000 on or whatever on some headshots. And I just sort of think, like, what benefit is that giving the business, when all of the rest of your lovely website has like stock imagery, random stuff that doesn't like make that much sense. So that's where I'm at. I started to just sort of not believe in my own bullshit about bullshit in inverted commas about portraits and headshots and things like that. And I wanted to get your thoughts and opinions on it, because it's a huge part of what you do as a photographer, and to some extent it's a huge part of what I do. I'm just kind of losing belief. That was my monologue. What's your thoughts on all of that randomness that came out just
No,
then?
that was excellent. I think you kind of answered it there, because people or companies need headshots for their about us page or Meet the Team page, and for social media. And even when you get an email from someone now or a WhatsApp, it's got their little headshot in it. So that's one reason why I think they're really more important than ever. They don't have to just be your traditional white background headshot. You can kind of, I am seeing things steering slightly away from the white background stuff, and people just either going for more of a texture background, kind of like that old school master, which probably hasn't been in fashion for going on 20 or 30 years. We know those are coming back. And I think they just look fantastic as well, because also it takes attention away from the face just a little bit by having a bit of texture behind you. So it's a headshot that's less in your face,
Yeah.
by having a bit of a textured background. But I also find the white background headshots, I think, are really important for anyone who is in a speaking role, or someone who might be invited to an event as a speaker or something like that. Because the amount of events that I photograph as well, and then you look at the rundown of the day, and you've got a list of the speakers, and it's nice headshot, nice headshot, nice headshot. Someone's sitting in the garden with a glass of wine. And it's like, oh, come on, you should have had a proper headshot done. So that's one reason why I sort of say, well, look, even if you're not going to use them, I'm going to take a couple on a white background. You might need them in the future because you've always got them, rather than kind of using that me on a bikini, and I'm going to try and just cut it there or something.
I didn't think about that, and that's a really, really good point. Is like, what's the alternative? I guess not everyone can have like a crap phone picture. Like some images look great. Maybe some have captured like sort of candidly or whatever. But that's a really good point actually. Is what's the alternative? Like something that doesn't look that professional.
I also think for, say, if it's a corporate entity or a larger company, it's good to have a uniform look to all the pictures, so there's some consistency to them. I mean, I really love some of the guys work who are calling themselves kind of personal branding photographers, and the work they're photographing has got a bit more energy in it, a bit more life in it. They're going out on the street or they're going over the woods, and they're just trying to get some personality into it. Whereas if you're working with a team of 30, 50, 100 staff and you want them all on the website, that would look, again, it would just look messy. It would just look like they've taken them all on their own phones. So that's another reason why I think headshots still have a place in sort of, I don't know, modern marketing, I guess, just to show that uniformity and the consistency of a brand.
I quite like personal brand stuff. I think it's really relevant, especially if you're the brand, obviously. That makes perfect sense. And that's kind of, I guess that's kind of different to a headshot, because it's kind of like marketing material, isn't it? It's you can use a headshot in a number of different ways. But I think if you're doing a lot of blog writing and lots of different pages on your website, but essentially the service is you as an individual, then I think that becomes really relevant. Yeah, I didn't really sort of factor in the personal brand stuff. That's pretty cool. What's your take on Meet the Team pages? Let's say we have a Meet the Team page. If you are adding in, some people have got a bit of churn of staff and things like that, it makes sense to do imagery that's quite simple so you can replicate it and stuff like that. We have that in our agency, that we don't have a Meet the Team page purely for the fact that we are regularly adding people to the team. And I'll be honest with you, there's a little bit of this kind of thing of, if they don't know how big or small we are as an agency, I would rather that be an unknown. Some potential customers might be put off by the fact that we're a relatively small agency. And then some might be put off by the fact that we've got a team of 5, and therefore, we're not we're perhaps a lot more expensive than, let's say, a freelancer or something like that. Yep. So my sort of gut reaction to a Meet the Team page is, who cares? Who cares what all these people look like?
Do you know what? I care. Most companies I shoot for, or if I'm shooting, say, for a PR agency, I love to do a little bit of research on them. And so I'm always looking at Meet the Team pages, just again, so I can see who I'm speaking to over email and things like that. Or I can see who I'm going to be photographing before I turn up to photograph them. So no, I think Meet the Team pages are really important. However, I think it does depend on the type of business, and also you don't necessarily need all the staff on the Meet the Team page. For example, if you're a manufacturing company with a massive warehouse, you probably don't need all the guys on the workshop floor on your Meet the Team page.
Yeah.
But it's good to have, say, managerial level people, the people who would be out there representing the company.
Yeah, so there's someone that you would potentially be, speaking to if you are a actual customer of that particular company.
Yeah,
that makes sense. I didn't really think about it like that in terms of my thoughts of Meet the Team page. And this is it comes back to that example that I gave earlier of, a lot of the time, especially when you're a relatively new business that's gone through some growth, it's kind of willy waving to be just showing how many staff you've got, but then the rest of the website's complete garbage and doesn't really say anything about the business or the values or what you do. You sort of leaning on the fact that you've got a pretty big team. And I do see sometimes where you've just got it's Lynn from accounts. You'll never speak to her, but here's a photo of her, and she looks really uncomfortable or whatever. Yeah. There's always been that bit for me of you're just trying to show off that you've got a relatively, and it does work. This is my kind of problem with it is it works. If I see a big team, I'm like, whoa, they're a really reputable big business. That looks cool. But then of course you can have some people kind of some companies manipulating that and being like, well, that person only worked there for X amount of time, or they're a freelancer.
I really like it. I think especially, again, just sort of using Dissident as an example, you're always posting up behind the scenes stuff. So it's almost like you get to know some of the guys. I mean, I've only kind of met you and Kate, but I feel like I already know Molly just through seeing her so much on the behind the scenes stuff. And yet, if you ever went to your website and you haven't got an About Me page or pictures of everyone with just a little bit of, I don't know, you haven't got to go into favorite food or that type of thing. But yeah, it's just kind of oh, these guys are posting all this, but now they're hiding away behind something. I can't see their faces.
Yeah. And well, perhaps, when you've got businesses that are small enough that the information about these individuals is relevant. Again, I think people take it a bit too far and go a bit silly. And it's like, and we're, you know, we've done this for our clients. Sometimes that can be just part of the brand, you know, the brand values or the communication of like, this person really likes this film, and you could on Sundays you can catch them doing this boring shit. But that's kind of, you know, that can be quite cute for some businesses. It can be really off-brand for others. But I guess if you've got people like Molly that you sort of see on a regular basis, you know, in the behind the scenes content, and you want to dive a little bit deeper into, well, actually, what does Molly do? Because her role is actually quite complex, and her background's interesting, and stuff like that. Then I guess I could kind of see that. But then I'd be like, but what about Keelan? Like does he need this? And then like, I never feel like I want to be leaving anybody out. So I feel like I have to do, I would feel like, you know, your example of like, well, you only need like perhaps the C-level execs, some of the account managers and the marketing managers and stuff like that. But you might not need necessarily, like, let's say, to give an example, like shop floor workers, like they perhaps don't need like a corporate identity. So swings and roundabouts with Meet the Team. Like if you don't divulge a great deal of information, if it's just a photo, a name, and a title, is it worth it in that respect? But then, where do you stop? I guess. Do you know what I mean?
I still like that, just so you can see who you're speaking to. I think that's really important, just for that reasoning, if nothing else.
I suppose and a way you could market that and utilize that, I guess, in some respects, is if you're onboarding a new client, for instance, and you're like, cool, here's a bit about, you can send them a deck, like this is why we're excited to work with you, this is the cool stuff that we've done in the past, this is who we are as a business, and these are some of the people that you might be speaking to in the near future, account managers, producers, directors, whatever. If you have a Meet the Team page, you get the opportunity to judge one way or the other, the individuals that you may want to engage in business with. Whereas if that's blank, if it says like some blanket statements about the business or something like that, it's maybe some nice other material other than just like, here's all of the team and what they look like. You're sort of leaving the door open to like, okay, well, I don't get the opportunity to judge this person based on their looks or even their expression, how they looked on the day, stuff like that. But the flip side of that is, if you are like, do you know what, warts and all, this is us, this is who we are, like, and we're owning it, that can be almost like a filter. So that can be a powerful tool, I imagine, for getting the right people in. I think we've utilized things like that in the past. We've been very open about the people that we'd like to work with, and I think if you put your personality out there, that attracts the right kinds of people, because likewise puts the wrong people off, and that's great.
Coming out knowing I was doing this, I put a hoodie on, and then I was thinking, I shouldn't really be wearing a hoodie. Again, I don't think hoodies look particularly great in headshots, but then if someone always wears a hoodie, I'd sooner have them come down and be photographed in their hoodie, because that's how they're comfortable. Because if they never wear anything else other than hoodies, and I make them, or their photographer makes them not wear their hoodie for their headshot session, they're not going to like the pictures.
I think that, especially if you're leaning towards, this is the team and this is their personality, these are the individuals within the business that we are proud of and that we care about, and we want to showcase them. Then let them be themselves. It's a tough one, isn't it? I feel a bit better about headshots now. I feel like I'm not just taking people's money knowing that it's terrible marketing. Because actually, you're right. For the right businesses, headshots are important. I kind of didn't even factor in social media a great deal, like LinkedIn and stuff like that. The multi-use stuff, the blog posts. Adding your portrait to something, some kind of like white paper or technical document or something you put your name to. I agree with you. The Meet the Team can be relevant. in certain circumstances, but I think it's a strategy. You use it or you don't. Personal brand stuff, that's really relevant. I think studio-based stuff, again, really important for consistency. Try and get a white background, even if you don't intend to use it necessarily. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good to have that. The judgment thing, I'm still a little bit like, oh, I don't feel comfortable about that. But I think the thing is, you're never going to stop people judging.
Yeah. I think weirdly as well, you've introduced something that I've never ever thought about before. With your kind of fear of, are they going to judge me on the fact that it's 5 people too many, it's 5 people too few? I'd never ever thought of that.
I definitely feel better about headshots now. I feel better about shooting them. I feel better about marketing headshots to my clients. I still stand by the fact, though, if headshots is your only use of media budget across a whole business, I think the priorities are wrong there. I think headshots should be part of most of the time. There's going to be anomalies of more media. I think it's weird just having headshots and then everything else is stock. If you're going to go to the extent of having a meet the team section with team photos, I think you need to go even further than that. I think you need to expand that into how we work, who we work with, what we do to socialize. Martin, thank you so much for
That's
for
cool.
that. We'll try and do this again. We'll have another debate. I appreciate you coming on to this debate because it was. I was so conflicted because I shoot headshots, but I felt like a fraud a little bit.
No, I absolutely love them. Yeah, I should have just said that. No, I love them. I think they're the one essential thing in this day and age. Everyone needs one just for consistency.
And I think the best marketing for headshots is, what's the alternative? Something rubbish, something not as good. We'll call this like the end. So thank you very much if you're still here and still watching. And if that was interesting, leave a comment. What's your thoughts? What's your experiences? I know for a fact no one's going to comment, but I'll say it anyway. But thanks, mate.
Thank you.